favorite Bernie Mac moment? The
Seeing
show.
how, seeing how. Oh, I'll let you go. 'Cause I'm about to say, seeing how he's like one of my top three favorite comedians of all time. I'm gonna let you.
The Bernie Mac show. I love the show on Fox, especially when the part when he yelling at the children, "Who ate my goddamn piece of chicken?" I love that part. Him when he getting after the boy Jordan, but Bernie Mac the character, man. I loved him from the original Kings of Comedy. Him, D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer, Steve Harvey. He by far he was the funniest one out of all of them.
Mhm.
Um, from Def Comedy Jam, I did love that from him from Def Comedy Jam. Oh man, but the Bernie Mac show. That's what really stood out to me the most, though. That's what really stood out to me is when he finally had his own show. And by the way, he was kind of underrated on that show, Moesha, when he played Uncle Bernie, being the uncle to Moesha and Miles. So I kind of like that part, how he and Hakeem, rest his soul, Lamont Bentley, were bickering back and forth. Bernie Mac, man, when you think of comedians, greatest comedians of all time, like I said, is Richard, Eddie, Bernie, Chappelle. I don't have him in order. Martin. Those are my top 5 comedians of all time. When you think of those comedians, that's those comedians when you think of. I mean, Bernie Mac, also how he played the character on the Wayans brothers when Marlon was about to marry his sister. But Bernie Mac, man, just comical, man. Just comical. Love him, miss him, man. What's your favorite Bernie Mac moment? BRF, I'll let you go.
Gosh, I have so man like Bernie Mac is one of my favorite comedians of all time. I got too many. I got too many. Like his his Def Comedy stand up. Oh my gosh, stir it like coffee. Stir it like coffee. That's all I'm gonna say to that one. But that one and like in his first one, like the one that kind of introduced him to the world that you don't understand. Oh my god! If y'all have not seen either his Def Comedy Jam, yeah, I ain't scared of you. Yeah, boy, if you have not seen either of his Def Comedy Jam specials, y'all need to educate yourselves, or y'all need to watch them pronto. Even though they're only about 5-6 minutes apiece, those are two of the funniest stand-ups I have ever seen in my life. Are both of his Def Comedy Jams. Because I used to have because my mom used to order a while back when the VHSs was still like the thing, and Def Comedy Jam was putting out their like all star VHS tapes. They would just put them all on. They kind of like all star shows, like whether it was him or Chris Tucker or Ricky Harris or just any of those comedians from back in the early '90s and stuff like that. Man, yeah, my favorite moment of his is his original Kings of Comedy segment because just from second one up until the the one where he was like the ending where he's like, I bet you if you're in a conversation and you talking with a black person, they will say the MF word about 32 times and just ran off every single time. It's like one of the funniest. Like y'all, I'm telling you, y'all gotta watch this original King. The milk and cookies, milk and cookies,
Mm-hmm.
What the cookies and shit.
milk and cookies.
Downstairs.
Yeah,
What the hell the hell?
him downstairs.
Man, when I just
Yeah,
go,
like I ain't got no name.
I just go
Yeah,
do the shit myself.
like let me tell you something. Like Bernie Mac, I'm telling you, boy, give that man 10 minutes on the stage with a microphone. I'm telling you, he would shut it down. And even like in some of his movie performances, like House Party 3, where he was Uncle Vesta. That scene when they was sitting at that scene when he was sitting at the table was simply marvelous. And Ronaldo Ray, I ain't gonna go too deep in that scene, but if you ain't seen that scene, you might want to watch that scene. Bernie Mac gonna hang your jaws on the floor laughing so hard. That's how funny that scene was. All I'm gonna say is jawbone. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
Like this from you, good friend.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Hilarious. And yeah, of course. Like I think the reason why I think one of the main things what made it With Bernie. Yes, the nephew stutter problem. That is one of my favorite go-to jokes of all time. The nephew stuttering. That is one of my favorite go-to jokes of all time. I think what makes the show so special as well is if you go back to the original Kings of Comedy, like I said, if you had the movie, they would do like the cut scenes in between each comedian segments. And one of those segments, those cut scenes in between the segments was Bernie talking about, DL got a show, Sid got a show, Steve got a show. How come I ain't got no show? And then he's like, well, I'll take any network. I'll take TNT, I'll take UPN, I'll take USA. I mean, he was like, I'll take any network. And then here comes Fox. They give him his show, and then it's almost like he was getting ready. Like, granted, you had Steve Harvey, you had Sid the Entertainer, you had D.L. Hughley. It just felt like out of that four, Bernie Mac was about to really become the one out of that foursome. And the fact that he wasn't able to really fully enjoy that, the pneumonia, and he passed away, health issues and stuff like that. It really felt like he was about to become the one. Like the scene in Transformers, hey, hey. Boy, if I had a rock out, bust your head. But just like,
Remember Head of State? Him and Chris Rock.
oh yes,
That was a good one.
You know Nico Jacobs? You know Nito Jacobs?
Yes.
You know Nito Jacobs? And then the dude look at him like, no, I don't know Nito. I don't. You don't know nothing about Nito Jacobs? I don't know nothing about Nito Jacobs.
Hey, Mitch,
Man.
it's Reggie, motherfucker. Where my money at? Don't come up here with all this bullshit. You see I'm on TV.
You're right. Right. Like, no, his intro to the movie where he's getting off the train, just slapping everybody in sight. They come to him, they asking for this. And then then that person come on, ask for this. Bow. And then at the end is the black guy come up. Like, you think, okay, he might shake his hand or something. No, he gives him the biggest slap off. Oh,
He wound it up and then.
he wound it up and he knocked him down. So, like I said, yeah, like I think me and P is pretty much the top 5 comedians of all time. We pretty much have the same 5. Like, it's Richard Pryor, it's Eddie Murphy, it's him, it's Dave Chappelle, and it's Martin Lawrence. That's my 5 too. That is my 5. I feel like I feel like it's not universal, but I feel like the majority of people who really like follow comedy and love stand-up like we do, if you would have to do some convincing for me to have anybody else in your top 5 of stand-ups all time besides those 5 guys. I mean, it's just the energy they brought, the topics they discussed, but then the jokes and how they connected and how just naturally funny they all are. And Bernie Mac really just stands apart because it was like, yeah, he's from Chicago, but it's almost like he had kind of like a Southern flair about him, even though he's from Chicago. And it was just something that
Kind of had like that Mississippi flair.
Yeah, like he kind of had like a Mississippi kind of flair to him, and it's like we could relate more on the level with Bernie just because of how he carried himself. And like I said, like just for me, it was just his stand up, and like I said, he had some really good movies. He had really good movies, like performances, and just I think an underrated movie of his is Mr. 3000. I enjoyed that movie. Stan Ross, that was a good movie. If y'all didn't see Mr. 3000, y'all need to watch that too. But yeah, man, like I said, yeah. But for me, with Bernie, I just associate him with all the stand-ups because he just goes up there and he just wings it and he's just himself. And man, I'm gonna move on because I could talk about Bernie all day. That's how much I just admired his work and everything he did. I could talk forever about Bernie Mac. I laughed so hard at that man. I tell you what.
Champ.
Remember that scene in Who's the Man? That Dr. Dre and Ed Lover movie.
It was in barbershop.
Look at you looking like before and after. I bet you better for 2 I'll never forget that scene in Def Jam's How to Be a Player. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
That scene where he walked in the house and talked about what it smelled like.
yeah. We get you. Hey man, going back to House Party 3, man, I'll never forget when he tried to grab that plate from Ezel. He said, so how them ladies get to eat right about that? Because they got guns and we got wars. That's fair enough.
Or remember when that woman said, "You black, dusty, rusty ass," and
Yeah,
then now I got to cut you.
now I got to.
I got to catch you.
I expected some shit like this from you, Riff Raff. I never forget that. I use that at work sometimes when it's a very, very busy day. I just say it out like, I expect you to do shit like this. Oh man, Bernie Mac was one of the most funniest guys, if not the funniest guy. That was the Original Kings for comedy. That was special. That was special. I don't think no disrespect to a lot of the comedians that we have now, but from the '80s all the way up to like I'll say 2010, that was the golden age of comedy. I mean, you had Andrew Dice Clay, you had a little bit of everybody. I mean, and they were coming out, and then Def Jam was the vehicle that started them all. And then, ironically, everybody who came from Def Jam, they either became a movie star or somewhat of a movie star. When you think about Curry, when you think about
Mike Epps, Chris
Mike
Tucker,
Chris Tucker, all
Guy
those guys
Torrey.
became mega stars. I mean, it wasn't just Earthquake; they became stars in no time. So, I mean, it was a real big thing. Bernie was one of those guys, man. He had the glasses and he had the look, man. That man could dress his ass off, man. He could dress his ass off. Bernie Mac was fresh.
Oh my God!
So
Remember the Players Club?
yeah, I was just about to bring him up, but you better get out of my face before you get swole.
It's gonna be trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You better wear your bulletproof vest all day.
Mm-hmm.
That was that was getting Buccaneers. Remember that scene?
Boy, let me tell you something. Bernie Mac is one of the few comedians I honestly God I still to this day, if something funny happened, I would try to do the voice and try to impersonate him. Like he just had that type of impact.
Bernie Mac was he like I said, he was smooth, he was flamboyant, he had charisma, and man, I mean,
He was rough though. He was rough though. Especially how he was with them kids on the Bernie Mac show.
Boy, nobody trying to come in and tell you. Boy, I'm coming to tell you today. Boy, I'm gonna pour Kool-Aid on the eyes lips so they can't holler and they can't see. Boy, I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you.
Man, that was good. I mean, I never forget Faison Love stated that he didn't like Bernie Mac at first because he felt like he was trying to impersonate Robin Harris, the late great Robin Harris, the Baby Kids from the Baby Kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how I know him. It was just like, no, it was his voice. But man, that was special, man. There's a lot of stars in life, but there's nothing like a shooting star. And Bernie Mac was definitely a shooting star in comedy, man. And for you to be the headliner and you go last with all of those great comedians, because Steve Harvey was a star in his own right. D.L. Hughley was a star in his own right. He hosted not just Def Comedy Jam, but he hosted Comic Geek. And I think that people, I don't think people understand this. With D.L. Hughley, you knew he was about to end his show. This is how you knew when he looked in the audience and said, "How you doing, man?" And you already knew he was about to start roasting people.
About to start roasting people.
Yeah, so for you to be on that, then Cedric the Entertainer. If it wasn't for Bernie being on that show, he probably would have been the most funniest comedian on the show. For you to go last behind all of those great comedians who could be on Mount Rushmore, that's the thing about it. They call them the kings of comedy, but they could very well be on Mount Rushmore when you talk about DL, when you talk about Steve Harvey, when you talk about Cedric the Entertainer, when you talk about Bernie Mac. Those four guys by themselves can be Mount Rushmore comedy. When you think about the lanes that they opened up, the fact that they hosted the Apollo in the form of Steve Harvey, when you think about they all had their own sitcom shows. When you think about, they all got their superstar from Def Comedy Jam. Uh, they all hosted Def Comedy Jam. They all hosted comedy. They hosted comedy. They was able to do a lot of things. Sometimes I feel like I got old too early, too late, because I would have loved to have gone to one of them damn Comedy View shows when they was going to Atlanta and stuff like that. By the time I got older, they was already not doing it no more, man. I want to go see comedy. But Bernie Mac was definitely him. And unfortunately he got taken away from us a little bit early, but the records, the stand up, all the things that he did will live forever. And for you to be the last guy to go on, like I said, those four guys could be on the Mount Rushmore. Those four guys can be on the Mount Rushmore because when they went places, they stood out. Cedric the Entertainer, he stood out. DL, he stood out. Steve Harvey, he stood out. But if you really want to laugh at something about Steve Harvey, go to that Godfrey interview and she said, but if you really want to laugh about every time that Godfrey brings, I can't even hold it here. Every time that Godfrey brings up Steve Harvey, your hands go bad. This ain't about
because when you look at comedians and you just single out impersonations, Godfrey's impersonation of Steve Harvey is so goddamn accurate, bro.
This ain't about. I'm from Cleveland, y'all. See, this ain't about Steve Harvey.
He does a great Trump impersonation as well.
Godfrey's probably the best. I say between
him
Godfrey,
and Jamie Foxx.
Godfrey, Jamie Foxx, and Jay Farrell are probably the best three right now as far as like impersonation.
Yeah, well, you got to give it to Aaron Spears as well. You know,
Aaron Spears is up there too.
Aaron Spears is up there too, especially when he was on when he was impersonating Charles Barkley and Shaq. You know, when he the famous stars. Let me tell you something. Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and Kenny Cover. Everybody know Kobe.
Hey, who does a hell of a Charles Barkley impersonation? Frank Caliendo.
Yeah,
he does. Yeah, he does.
He does Doug Rudin best too, man. You know.
Yeah.
We gotta you got to get Kenny back on the show for one, so we can revisit the top comedians.
Speaking of Aaron Spears, real quick,
he'll still say Cat Williams is the GOAT.
Yeah, he'll probably still say Cat Williams, but I think that'll be a good open discussion. And shout out to Hot Take Kenny, by the way, because Hot Take is.
Oh, he thinks Cat Williams is the GOAT stand up.
Yeah, he thinks.
Yes.
Yeah, he thinks he's the GOAT stand up, but I don't know. Like I stated, he's younger than us, so he doesn't remember. You know, it's one thing to look at it on YouTube. It's one thing to experience live and living. I remember the Eddie Murphy stand up, and I think a lot of times, to Kenny's defense, I will say, because he's younger than a lot of us, I think that he suffers from the same thing that I look at when I see Monique. When I see Monique, I don't see a comedian anymore. I see a megastar at this point. She has a Grammy. She's been on all types of movies. She had her own sitcom. She's a Grammy-winning award. Sometimes when I look at Eddie Murphy, I forget that he was a stand-up comedian because he's been a movie star for so long. You know, same thing with Martin. The only person who you don't look at it, you say, well, he was, you know, there's only a few that's kind of, the roots are still kind of there. But to his defense, I'll say that. But I'll say that, like I said, there's a lot of other comedians that you really look at that are outside of us. I will say that, you know, Jeff Foxworthy, I really think that his reign was real, real good, man. Plus, he was a Braves fan, so I watched him a lot. You know, Jeff Foxworthy, you got to think about Jerry Crowley, you got to think about Andrew Dice Clay, Gilbert Gottfried, Roseanne. Like I said, people don't even remember that Roseanne was a stand-up comedian. People don't remember that Whoopi Goldberg, she was a stand-up comedian. A lot of
Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah. People don't remember that those ladies and gentlemen were stand-up comedians before they got thrust into superstardom. And it's just like, okay, yeah, I remember, but it's just like I remember them more so as them being movie stars more than I do them being stand-up comedians. But I say that in a lot of the young guys' defense, they don't remember how, even with Chris Rock, they don't remember how, you know,
how good he was.
Yeah.
How good he
Remember,
is. Good to
remember
stand
Never
up.
Scared?
You got never
Yeah.
kid.
That was my favorite one.